Do you know when you are last is always good, because you take a note of what they have said, you combine them, and especially when you have lunch, you are sleepy. So I'm well off. But if I want to shorten my presentation for the sake of question and answer, I would like to this one?
Yeah, just turn.
Oh, okay. I'm a village boy. That's quite easy. You know, from the time of Plato, when humankind started to meditate about systematic and institutionalized leadership, always one question had come up. And it never fails, from Plato all the way to the political philosophy of Immanuel Kant, and coming all the way to the 21st century. What is more important than leadership? What is more vital than political leadership is how we view human nature. Because how you define human nature, that becomes the cornerstone of everything that you devise as a policy or as a rule of ethics or otherwise. I challenge you to consider the political philosophies that led to the Second World War. Ask yourself some of the doctrines that actually were used by some of the prominent leaders, such as Hitler, were really political originally, but it had to do with how they defined human nature. I'm not sure whether you have examined the influence of Darwin, for instance. If you read Origin of a Species and then the Descent of Man, and accept that you are an evolutionary creature that have become perfected animal. And also if you accept the fact that in order to survive, you have to understand there is a fittest that survives. So there is a race which is fittest, there is a gender which is fittest. And therefore, if you want to use Darwinism, as most of the people do, then you have to say the concept of war and peace really means survival of the fittest. Therefore, I have to use what is the best fitted race, gender, and then I will promote the existence and continuity of that gender. I'm just giving you a thought. How something which might be scientific originally can influence political philosophy. Another person that, in my opinion, has been very influential was Nietzsche. Nietzsche, with his very famous statement, God is dead, and then considered human being to be center of all evils. And therefore, there is, in his very famous work, Beyond Good and Evil, in his another very influential work on the political philosophy of the world, Genealogy of Morals. That was, as far as I know, any political system that we have in the world has been influenced by it. That when you do not consider human being as noble, you consider human being as evil, waiting to act out. Therefore, a good political leader is the one who, understanding that phenomena, puts a procedure, mostly controlling procedure, that the evil becomes minimized. Another very, very important philosophy, see, they start with philosophy, but they become political doctrine. The famous principle, the end justifies the means, Machiavelli. Machiavelli, in his two works, extensive discussion, you become easily convinced. When you read The Prince, which is one of his chief works, and then he actually builds upon it on his subsequent work called Discourse, that he actually says you have to just reach your means. The means that help you to reach your goals. So you define the goal, then we say what is the easiest path to get you to that goal. Easiest path. Now, another philosophy, and then I make a perhaps summary integration. Another one which was very, very, very influential was Mr. Freud. Because some of you are from the School of Psychology here. Freud is considered to be one of the modern thinkers of the world about human psyche, but at the same time, his philosophy, especially his very famous work, The Future of an Illusion, was used by politicians, by any sense of the word, by anybody who wanted to speak about human nature, to consider human to be the wolf of its kind. I'm quoting now Freud. This is why Nietzsche, throughout all of those nonsense theology, we are not totally abandoning Nietzsche. I believe that Nietzsche contributed greatly to humankind by saying simply that the way you have defined God, the way you have defined religion, in fact, is not fitted for today's time. And that becomes very obvious, and for the record, I have to stress that Nietzsche is not certainly clear for some people to say he was against God, against religion, because as he says on Thus Said Zoroaster, he actually at the end, he says, the real God shall come back, because we cannot live without him. But he says, this concept that you have given us is not befitting of anyone but a man lower than yourself. So I am not trying to judge these philosophers or these psychologists. I want to show you how a politician can use a doctrine such as Republic of Plato, such as Prince of Machiavelli, such as Future of an Illusion of Freud, and comes to the conclusion which may be different from somebody else. For instance, I'll give you another. I do not know whether you have heard about Immanuel Kant. Have you? If you haven't heard, you have to check your degree. So, but you get the credit for the course, don't worry. But Immanuel Kant, according to Bertrand Russell, he says some people consider him the greatest thinker ever lived after Plato. But Russell says, I may not agree with that evaluation, but I say if you are alive, you do not know about him, you miss a lot about human life. He now, you're talking about late 17th century philosopher who came in his very famous work, Critical Pure Reason, and then on his work, which is very famous, on religion within the limits of reason. These are very famous doctrinal work. He says the problems of humankind has been the philosophy that they adopt. This is what I wanted to get. He believed your ethical system, your value system, actually is determined by your belief system. This is why he said it really doesn't matter who you are in the world, you have a belief system. And belief system simply means how you see the world. Because the way that we interpret the world is based on the glasses, inner glasses that we wear, not outer glasses. Kant beautifully found out that unless you put your philosophy as a base that whatever you do and conceive should benefit the entire humankind, your philosophy is fatal one way or another. Whether it is religious, I'm not here to judge any religion, any religious system that in any way, shape, or form tries to uphold certain race, certain gender, certain nationality, can't. I don't say it's right or wrong, I say it cannot be used as a belief system to create a universal code of ethics. And then at the heart of this political system was whatever you do is only ethical if you assume everybody else in the world doesn't. And it would not generate harm for anyone. I do not know of any other principle more valuable than that. Then, I want to give you the last one and then I'm going to take a big break. There was a gentleman by the name of Carl Jung. You know Jung? Jung should be your best friend. Carl Jung came and said, do you know, we have archetypes in everything. It was very much like Plato and the concept of idea. If you are a religious people, the concept of word, logos, primal point, most exalted pen, these are all simply a different contextual references to the concept which is called archetype. Archetype means the model that you use regardless of the context that you are in. He believed that world of humanity actually is operating based on universal archetypes. And he says the more you identify those universal archetypes, the more you become human. Because he considers human to be a mine full of gems, as it has been stated in many of the scriptures of the world's religion. You can see, even before religion, you can see Gita actually considers human being not a male, not a female, but a reality which is beyond gender and nationality. You go to Socrates, he says, go and provoke yourself and know yourself, because the more you know yourself, you see that you are not this skin encapsulated self, you are something beyond. You are not your color, you are not your beard, you are not your degree, you are not your gender. There is something noble within you. And then Jung says, do you know, leader is the one who provides an environment in which each and every individual can flourish. So this is what Einstein was after. The best political environment is an environment that the democracy is established through what? Through values which are universal. This is why now I want to tie everything up, if I may. We started this seminar with governance based on principles. You in your daily life do that, my friends. But sometimes these principles become secondary in nature that we do not pay attention to. Because if we do not operate by principle, Einstein, my favorite friend, he says at the best you turn human to a bee or an ant or a trained, well-trained dog. Because there is no principle. We just do it. We worship. We are worshiping God. I don't know. They just told me worship. Jung, no. You are worshiping because that is a vehicle in order to unravel those noble qualities. So, look at why UN is not relevant, why it is relevant. Look at Angela's examples of the champions in the world. These people operated based on principles. They did not operate based on nationality. They did not operate based on religious dogma. They said, there is one humanity. There is one humanity which deserves our respect. So how do we create those respect? We examine our principle of operation. Whether we are Persian, Arab, German, American, we go like Maslow said, transpersonal. Go beyond. Before I am Persian, or I am American, or I am German, I am human. And as a human, I deserve to manifest those noble qualities that I have. Therefore, we believe end is important and the means are important. We believe that, of course, for every end, there are means. But like Kant said, ends, if they are noble, the means have to be noble. And the noble means that no human rights at any level be violated. You imagine if we have a United Nations based on the principle of oneness of humanity or oneness of mankind, where the members are like the flowers of one garden, as Abdul Baha Abbas several times refers to it. When you heard Farhad refer to it as a unity in diversity in his presentations. Then what is important when you go to a garden? A concept of garden or individual flowers. Because if they were all roses, then you do not distinguish roses. This is why Einstein, Kant, Jung, they said rather than looking at differences in terms of superiority, inferiority, look at it as the intensity of the revelation of those potential nobilities. This is beautiful. He says if you look at it that way, then you create a framework which is spiritual, not material. We may not realize it, my dear friends. Most of us, mostly are materialistic. Because we evaluate everything in a materialistic way. Even when we say we are religious, sometimes we are materialistic. We have a holy land. There is a land which is holy. But we kill people. We do not realize that religion was a means, not the end. The end was the human heart. Do you see that? So I'm trying to just help us to frame the real principle, as they call it, mother principle, and then derive subsidiary principles. Yes, equality of man and woman is very good, but equality of man and woman is just a subset of the fact of oneness of humankind. I am trying to emphasize that some of these lower principles do not have any practical long-term impact unless you always be mindful of a real principle, ultimate principle. And then based on that, you create institutions, whether civil or otherwise. Then you have society. Because unless you have a relationship between individuals which are enlightened, a society which is democratic, and institutions that safeguard the nobility and the freedom, then what is politics? So politics is something that we all have to be involved in, but in a philosophical, principled way. Make sense? So, if I want you to get something out of this presentation, is principle has to be examined, because practice without principle doesn't get you anywhere. Principle, like Farhad said, without practice doesn't get you anywhere. This is why religion and science are two wings. End is humankind. Politics is an environmental battle. The ultimate goal is the unity of humankind. I humbly believe, based on all of these things that I have read, I may be wrong, unless humankind changes the course based on a principle. I do not know why the Third World War should be abolished. I philosophically only, I'm not a politician. I just look at the philosophical doctrines which led to the World War II, and I see tenfold is ripe in us for the Third World War. Thank you so much.